Welcome to the Entrepreneur Gene. I'm your host, Laurie Barkman. Each week, we'll hear from founders and CEOs to explore key decisions they've made for growth, value creation, and challenges along the way. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, offering entrepreneur advisory services from transition to transaction. Don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us for the latest episodes, and visit thebusinesstransitionsherpa.com for more exclusive content. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Gene. I am so excited to talk to my guest today. He's an industry recognized engineering technology leader with more than 35 years of experience in smart building engineering and technology. Please welcome founder and CEO of the Clarient Group, Charlie Buscarino. Charlie, welcome.
Hey, how are you? Good to be here. Thank you.
My very first question to you is this. The entrepreneurial gene, does it exist and what does it mean to you?
Well, it's funny when asked that way, it gives the impression that it's a binary thing, right? It does or it doesn't. And I would say my story is probably a little bit of a blend. I think that is something that can be uncovered. When I started my journey, if someone told me, "Look, you're going to own your own business," I would have, that was not in my vision. I mean, you meet people who are passionate about it; they want to do it from the time they were born, and that was not me. But circumstances bring you along the way, and you end up discovering that you have this ability. Now, whether or not it was innate, I don't know. But I would say that it's not a hard, fast yes or no. I think there's capabilities that one have that can get uncovered.
What were some of those capabilities that you found were important to you that you leaned in on?
Well, I'm an engineer. Okay. I think engineering, I'm process oriented. And so as one takes the journey, you start to make decisions that are logical decisions that, whether it's services you're providing or costs or how to satisfy a client or how to drive revenue, that when collected become the components and how to guide people that are foundational to being an entrepreneur. So I wouldn't say that I sought these to become an entrepreneur, but in the process of doing what I do, they aggregated it and I ended up being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And the problem solving is inherent in being an engineer. And what you just described largely is problem solving. How do we get others to help us solve these large problems? So I can see how you're putting it together. When we talked off air, we talked about that it was sort of the accidental entrepreneurship. And seems like there were building blocks along the way that you used to build into your business, which is great. I
Hmm.
do hear that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it takes you on a path when you follow the logic. And this is where I ended up.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about challenges. What is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now in your business?
What I find is in the nature of what we do, okay, and we design smart buildings, right? So smart buildings are, kind of out there in uncharted territory. And so the idea of being creative and thinking, really thinking outside the box. What's the art of the possible? How can you bring these things to market? So on the one side, it's inspiring people to embrace your vision, to carry it forward. But it's also when you're trying to create a team to inspire them to kind of break the barriers that exist. Many folks like structure. They like a framework. They like to be told, here's what you do, it's repeatable and so on. And ultimately you want to get there. But in the early days of really exploring uncharted territory, you want to break down those barriers and you want to really explore and then bring it down to something that's tangible and actionable and so on. So that's a challenge, trying to get folks to get outside their comfort zone. Okay. And then ultimately communicate that to others who will embrace those ideas as well.
Innovation is inherently about being creative, but it's also about problem solving. Is part of what you're exploring with your team, identifying what the market needs are? How are you going about that?
I would say that that's foundational to what we're doing. We are technologists. We love technology. But in the end, it's not about technology. Okay. Typically, when dealing with clients, it's how can I help them reduce capital costs? How can we reduce operating costs? How can I generate revenue or create a superior customer experience. And so those elements are the ones that we have to dig into, understand their pain points, frankly, understand their business, where they're trying to get to. And then technology is the tools that we use to help bring that to fruition. So that's the nature of kind of where we go and how we try to get there. And so far, so good.
Oh, that's great. So, what excites you about the future of your industry?
Well, like I mentioned before, smart buildings it's a greenfield. I mean, and it's and yeah, I use the term, I use it generically. Smart buildings can mean many things to many different people, right? Um, but the way which we define it is, I say, Laurie, if we're going to go into this building, and I say that's a smart building, one would think, well, it's going to be operationally efficient, it's going to, save energy and so on. But part of that is, well, what does that mean for me? How's my experience going to be different? How will I be able to find my friends, order food? All of those things that we can conjure up that create really superior experiences for occupants in buildings and so on. We can use our imaginations and understand those needs and deliver them. And we get to do that for all different clients, all different verticals. I mean, it is endless excitement in how we can make that really a better place, operationally and experience wise, for the people we work with.
There's an infinite number of ways to innovate around that. You were talking about innovation earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and just the urban centers and how the commercial buildings, commercial real estate has been changing since the pandemic, and even in more rural areas, and what buildings can be doing for us and the living experiences. So I think it's fascinating. That is really truly fascinating. How do you encourage your team to think ahead on the art of the possible?
So that's like I was talking about before. I think part of it is practicing that muscle, right? So you start to see things, and then if those ideas start to expand and they start to take root. So I would say that the focus for my team is really twofold. One is to think outside the box and where can it go and what are those experiences. But the other is to ground it in repeatable processes that are consistently deliverable so that we can, it's not a wish list or a hypothetical. We know we can deliver, and we've been very successful in doing that. And then lastly, this is a journey that folks take where they're outside their comfort zone. Where's it going? So how do you do that in a way in which you can instill confidence that the outcomes will be delivered in a tangible way and that they're taking the right journey and they've picked the right team? So it's a combination of explore, deliver, and then provide the confidence that you're going to get to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a leap of faith from your team to work on these types of projects. There was obviously a big leap of faith with the clients and their investment in the smart building technology and the difference that it can make for the environment, for their constituents, be they residential or commercial. So that's super exciting. Thank you for sharing that background. So a bit of a transition. We spent the first half of today's conversation learning from you, and I want to switch gears, Charlie, and learn more about you. Tell me your origin story. Take me back.
Well, I started in construction and real estate really, really early. So I'm the oldest of five. And it seems like we always lived in a house that wasn't big enough. So, and my father, being very handy, decided he was going to expand the house and he could do it himself. And he had boys. And so I think as long as I can remember, we were working on the house, expanding it, and so on. So always had a hammer in hand and such. Ended up working and becoming a draftsman at his firm from the time I was 17 all the way through college. Then ended up getting a really cool job, and this was for an engineering firm. So I got my roots there. But then I ended up working for a company designing microwave landing systems, which was really, really cool. And so I enjoyed that and learned, like electronics and digital and so on. Then the Bell companies ended up breaking up, and that's how old I am. And so there was a desire to get me back into the real estate and technology and so on. And then ultimately I met some folks who were very, very innovative when I formed the Clarient group. And there was an individual who understood experience. There was one who understood operations. There was one who understood real estate. I was the technology person, and there was someone who understood media. And the idea is you would look to do projects that were iconic projects in the 10 major markets and bring a complete solution. Over time, I ended up buying each one of them out, but what I learned from them stuck. This idea that it's not about technology, that's an enabler for something else, that if you talk to someone in real estate, you do it in a spreadsheet. And if you can get past that, you get to have a more detailed conversation. So it's been a fantastic journey, and I don't think I would have done anything different. But I would have never envisioned that this is where it would have brought me.
With the benefit of time on your side, if you were going to go backwards and talk to yourself and give yourself some entrepreneurial advice, what would it be?
There's a couple items. I would say one, enjoy what you do. You're going to spend a lot of time doing it. All right. And so, I mean, I think that's fundamental. I would also say a lesson that I learned late is network. Meet people, get to know people, listen to people, explore, be curious. I was always, I can do it. I can get this done. I'm going to drive through, almost to my detriment. I mean, I did, but almost to my detriment of, connecting with other people and having different ideas and viewpoints was fantastic, as I've learned later.
Well, entrepreneurs don't build their businesses on their own, right? We need those people around us.
Right.
Well, it's an important message. Tell me about what you do outside of work. What keeps you busy? What do you do for fun?
So, I mean, I like to exercise. I like to kayak. I like to get outdoors and so on. But I'd say the biggest thing is I have a very big family. I have a very big family. So, I mean, immediate family is, we're 22 or 24. And then my extended family, I got 102 first cousins, aunts, and uncles. So there's always something. There's always something going on, and we're very close. And so I spend a lot of time with them, and they take me on journeys. Whether we just went back from Costa Rica, and we've been to Italy, so it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot always going on.
Is there a group travel entrepreneur in the family?
Actually, my sister-in-law, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
And she does it for fun, or is this her business?
No, she does it. It's a passion and a blessing for us.
So all 26 of you went to Costa Rica, is that right?
We went to Costa Rica to celebrate my father's 85th birthday, and it went flawlessly, and we all got along.
That's amazing. So if you had more time on your hands, whether it's because you sold the business or you hired someone and you could move to chairman role and less day to day, what would you do? What would you follow this passion of spending more time with your family?
Yeah, I think so certainly I would do that, right? Because I enjoy them, but I would say that, as I mentioned before, I worked a lot. I put a lot of time into the business, as I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. And I think that there are uncovered things that I would like to explore more. I mean, travel is certainly one of them. I've done travel, but there are a number of things that I like to do. I like, again, like the kayak. I like archery. There's things that I haven't really taken a lot of time to do those. So I'll start to do more self-discovery and spend time and figure out what the next chapter brings.
Fair enough. Self-discovery is a healthy thing. And why wait till later in life? I'm encouraging myself to do it too. It's just one of those things. We get so busy, we get so used to our patterns and routines. Breaking out of those can be fun and energizing. So good for you, Charlie, for recognizing that as an opportunity. I want to thank you so much for coming on the Entrepreneur Gene today. And I want to give the audience a chance to connect with you off air if they want to follow up and learn more about smart building technology or anything that is in your world. What's a good way for people to connect?
So LinkedIn is always, the de facto. That's always the best. And then they can always come to our website, www.theclarientgroup.com, and always accessible there.
Perfect. And we'll also have those links in our show notes. Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you. It was great here. Thanks, Laurie. I really appreciate it.
And thank you to our audience. If you learned something today or laughed, tell someone about this podcast. Thank you so much again, Charlie, for being with us. This has been another exciting episode of The Entrepreneur Gene. See you next time. Hey, that's a wrap. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, working with entrepreneurs who want to escape feeling like a prisoner in their own business and to eventually let go flawlessly. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to help support the Entrepreneur Gene, I'd encourage you to leave a rating and review. Ratings and reviews truly help our show grow and get in front of more entrepreneurs just like you. If you do leave a rating and review, we'll be so happy. Take a screenshot of it, send it to my email, Laurie@btsherpa.com, and we'll send you a free digital copy of my book, The Business Transition Handbook. And we'll also enter you to win one of our monthly swag boxes. For show notes, including links to everything in today's episode, be sure to visit btsherpa.com. Also, as a reminder, you can watch this full video interview on our YouTube channel for the Business Transition Sherpa. While you're there, be sure to check out videos from our award-winning podcast called Succession Stories. We'll see you next time on The Entrepreneur Gene.